So, tell me something terrible.
Don't roll your eyes like that.
I'm going to need a therapist for you giving me anxiety by not finding a therapist and just simply saying you need to find a therapist.
Thank you. Solidarity.
It's becoming an STD.
Soon I'm going to have the beatus and we're just going to be on the same page.
Yep.
Okay. Are you ready to get started?
Sure. Oh, yeah, we do a podcast.
We do.
Every once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we technically just did one like 2 nights ago.
Yeah, that's for the patrons, though.
Yeah, not a lot of people heard that. That one was funny.
Yeah, that one right, and I missed out on a joke, and I was really upset about it.
That's fine. I started editing the video for that one for YouTube Shorts and TikToks.
Shameless plugging.
Exactly. And I got 2 in the first 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And if you go to the Black Wall Street one, I got 2 for an hour and 4 minutes of video and audio.
To be fair, both of us, not just me,
no,
you did too, we left on a very sad note.
No, I agree.
We also hadn't planned on taking a vacation, but kind of life caught up with us, and we were like, hey, we need to take a break.
No, that's, for sure. But the Black Wall Street one, taking 30 to 40 seconds out of context of that podcast and having it be either factual or funny was very difficult, so I just didn't.
Yeah, there was a lot of...
Because it was either funny...
There was a lot of stuff that led up to what happened.
There was some decent callbacks and stuff, but there's no way to put that into less than a minute.
Yeah.
And then there was stuff that was important information that it was hard to cut down to less than a minute, so I was whatever, people can just listen to podcasts. Anyway,
yes.
So yeah, we're back.
And we're going to do something light-ish hearted.
Is it as light as the Patreon episode?
No.
Oh, that one was fun.
Yeah.
Anyway.
The joke I missed out on was an Independence Day joke, and I had it in my mind, and then I never said it, and I was really upset about it.
Clearly.
So go back and listen. And then you'll probably figure out why there was going to be an Independence Day joke.
Okay.
So I did what you asked me to do.
Introduce yourself.
Introduce myself. Hi, I'm Tiffany.
Hi, I'm Scott.
And
that's a moth.
You're listening to Tell Me Something Terrible. Didn't you already kill one already?
I swatted one, and then I lost him. I think he's back.
With a vengeance.
I don't know. Anyway.
He's going to eat all of your t-shirt.
That was the only time he was distracting me.
By the end of this podcast, you will have nothing left because he will have eaten your whole t-shirt.
I think that's how that works.
Yes. So I did what you told me to do because you were all depressed after the last one.
So you got a white murderer.
I got a white man murdering a white woman.
Okay.
So.
Spoiler alerts.
And it's local. And recent.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Bob Bashara called Grosse Pointe Island Police Department at 11:30 p.m. January 24th, 2012.
2012? That's not a real
2012.
year. No,
2012. 2012.
2012.
Those 4 2/3 shots that I took earlier.
Yeah.
They just hit me.
No, you just told me 20 minutes ago you're not drunk at all.
Yeah, nope. I said, hey, my body gets more drunk than my mind. And then my mind was like, bet. And I'm there.
Okay.
This is going to go
So you just said a name really fast. Is that important?
Bob Bashara.
Bashara?
Bashara. Bashara.
Okay.
Bashara.
That's fine. He lives in Grosse Pointe.
Grosse Pointe Island.
Is it Eel or Island?
It's still, either if it says Isle, it's still Island.
Okay.
We went there. It was nice.
That's fine.
Remember?
Yes.
We went there.
Mm-hmm.
And then after the wedding, we drove around and then went to the reception. And then I had to run on my hose and I had to go to Walmart. It was super trashy and try to find the one
no, I remember
my size.
Yeah, no, I've never heard it pronounced Island.
Grosse Pointe Island. Isle. Grosse Pointe.
Call
whatever.
it Island.
Who gives a fuck? The really hoity-toity area of Detroit.
Okay.
Okay. Hoity cops. He called the hoity cops at the Hoity Island.
Stop. Just read your thing. You're making it harder to keep up.
So he called them at 11:30 p.m. on January 24th, 2012.
Okay.
Not 2012.
No.
Not a time.
Okay. Call the cops.
So this was to report his wife, Jane, missing.
Okay.
The pair had been working all day, Jane in meetings in Detroit, downtown, and Bob working on a project at one of his rental properties and popping in and out of a bar called Hard Luck Lounge.
Okay.
The owner was one of Bob's tenants. So he owned the building that this man was renting.
All right. So Bob owns rental properties.
Tons of them.
All right. So he's pretty much Bob the builder.
Yep.
Okay.
So the plan was he was going to meet back at home by 8:30 p.m. with his wife.
Jane.
Okay. When Bob arrived back home shortly after 8 p.m., Jane was nowhere to be seen. He went upstairs to clean up for a few minutes and then looked around for his wife. He saw the car and her purse were not there, so he assumed that she was running a quick errand. So Bob decided to get himself a snacky snack. He hopped on a bus and headed... No, sorry, he didn't hop on a bus. He walked.
I'm like, I need a snack. First step, get on a bus?
Nope. His ass walked.
Okay.
He walked from Grosse Pointe to the local Mickey D's that was on 7th Mile and Gratiot.
Okay.
And then after he got to McDonald's, that was when he hopped on a couple of buses that took him back home.
I feel like this is where the flaw in his story is going to be at some point. I don't know if he's the murderer, but still. That seems like a inconsistent story. Mm-hmm. Anyway.
So.
Okay. Let's go
Jane,
for a walk, Bob.
Yeah. At 8:30 at night to
For a snack.
7th Mile, which is almost where Eminem grew up.
Okay, but
So he went from the really nice island that you have to cross bridges to get to Detroit, walked to the ghetto of Detroit to get McDonald's.
It's probably not that far.
Got on 2 buses to come back home.
I'm just saying it could be not that far.
We were driving around there.
Okay.
It's far.
I've heard of Gratiot. Mm-hmm. Anyway.
So, I also did too because I got corrected and I was like, whoa, rude. I'm from here. But, whatever. So we got a lot of weird names for towns and you try to say them and you're like, that's wrong. It feels wrong. That's wrong. So,
right. Sorry, I was looking up 7th Mile and Gratiot.
Okay, now look it up.
I found Belle Isle.
Mm-hmm. So look it up from Grosse Pointe.
Grosse Pointe what?
Grosse Pointe
Woods,
Grosse Pointe Island.
Grosse Pointe Farms, Grosse Pointe
Literally
Park.
just click on something on Grosse Pointe.
Well, no, they're all
on an
they're all
island.
right there.
Yeah.
That's not all on an island. Anyway, none of those places are on an island.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Look
Belle
up.
Isle is an island.
That's different.
Anyway, we don't know enough about it to I don't know. I don't know the difference.
It seems a while. The fact that he had to get on 2 buses to get
back
home feels like it was a ways.
Okay.
So he leaves, and then this was like 8 o'clock when he got back home.
Yes,
and
first
so
time.
she wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
So he went and got some Mickey D's, and then by the time he got home and started calling people, it was like 9:30.
Okay.
So this was like an hour and a half where he was like, "Oh, I should be concerned."
Yeah.
So Jane was still unheard of, so he made some calls to friends and family.
Unheard from. She's been heard of.
Yes, unheard from. I even wrote that properly. Look, unheard from.
I don't trust your writing right now. Or your reading.
It's my reading that's a problem.
Good.
So he made some calls to some family and friends, trying to find anyone who had heard from her.
Create an alibi.
Yep. Sure. Their daughter...
Anyway, wild speculation until I know otherwise.
We're going to get to it.
Okay.
So their daughter told Bob that she had been talking with Jane that evening around 5 when Jane was done with her meetings.
Okay.
So that was the last time anyone talked to her. By 11:30 p.m., a concerned Bob finally called the police and filed that missing persons report.
Okay.
So the following day, a tow truck driver spotted a 2004 Mercedes-Benz ML350 SUV.
Ooh, 8 years old, though?
Yeah, well,
Jokes.
Look, yeah, you can't be that mad.
No, I know. I'm just harassing her.
Everybody's like, ooh, real estate. It's a lucrative business. You're like, ooh, real estate. It fucking sucks. It takes years to pay you money.
You picked the wrong time. Anyway. A Mercedes holds its value.
I did pick a wrong time.
Yeah.
To do real estate. So now it's thriving. 3 years ago, struggle. 7. Oh my God.
That was like 10 years ago.
It's fine. It wasn't 10. It was like 8, but yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no. We're getting old. So anyway, the tow truck driver noticed that there was an abandoned SUV parked down an alleyway on 7th Mile at approximately 7 a.m. On January 25th while making rounds. So this is the next day.
All right.
So he was looking for like stolen and abandoned vehicles. He was like, that's weird. Super sus. So witnesses say that they had noticed the SUV in the alleyway between 8:30 and 9 p.m. the previous night. So police were called when the driver noticed a body slumped between the front and back seats, partially on the floor. So the SUV was towed straight to the Detroit Police Department with the body still inside, just as it was found, and the body was quickly ID'd as Jane Bashir.
Okay.
Yeah. So she was wearing black leggings and a green sweater. There was bruising along her upper chest and throat area, and she had a couple of broken fingernails.
Oh, that's probably not good.
No.
That sounds self-defense-y.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So, yes. So detectives later said that she had, quote, fought for her life.
Yeah, I would imagine that's where broken fingernails come. That's a horrible feeling.
Could you just imagine, like, you've, like, bent a nail backwards a little bit on an accident?
Yeah.
Could you imagine, like, so much so that when they find your dead body, your nails are still bent
That's like having
backwards?
to, like, pull a healthy tooth out of your own mouth. Like, it's that same cringy feeling to me.
Both of us have issues with teeth, which is fun.
Will you fix your hair? It's stressing me out.
Is it that bad?
Thank you. No.
You don't like the Bieber look?
It's just, it got kind of low.
No, teeth and fingernails are just...
They're meant to be where they are.
Ugh. Especially because, like, fingernails come from, like, a spot, right? And they slide along this bed that holds it together, that's squishy and gooey.
Fingernails are weird anyway.
It's just... No, they really are.
It feels like they should be, like, halfway up your finger and then slowly poke out. Anyway.
No, they're really...
I understand how they work. I'm just saying they're strange.
They're also... the worst part is knowing that fingernails and toenails are considered appendages of the skin.
Okay.
Your hair is considered an appendage of the skin, too.
Well, yeah. That would make sense.
Yeah. Sit with that information for a while. So it was determined that she died by strangulation. And then by 9 a.m. that day, police arrived at Bob and Jane's affluent house in Grosse Pointe to inform Bob of the fate of Jane.
All right.
So by January 27th...
So the SUV wasn't his.
It was theirs. It was her
theirs?
SUV.
Her, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Right.
because her car and her purse were gone.
Gotcha.
So they found her purse in the car with the contents strewn across the passenger seat, and she was kind of slumped, like half in the passenger seat and half onto the floor between the two seats.
Okay. When you said her car was gone and then an SUV was found, I thought they were two separate vehicles.
No, that's her SUV.
I just need some clarification. Okay.
So by January 27th, the Bashir home had been searched for the first time. So this is 2 days later.
It's a little foreshadowing.
Mm-hmm. And so Bob was declared a, quote, person of interest after failing his first polygraph test.
Always a person of interest.
Yes, the husband.
The alive husband of the dead wife, yes.
Yeah. So, oh no. I'm trying to type. Okay.
You're trying to type?
I'm trying to type, apparently.
Don't type. It's too late for that. Yeah. We've come too far.
Okay, to be fair, I might run across a half a sentence because I was like, I'm going to add one more little detail here. And then my client came.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh no, and shut my laptop because I had to rescue her from the sprinkler. And so I might have a half finished sentence in here. We'll find out. So while this polygraph was taking place and he was blatantly failing it, this was when the first raid was happening at his house while he was failing the polygraph. Nice. So Bob continued to give press conferences and interviews with the media despite being investigated.
Oh, he's innocent.
Of course. He repeatedly told news crews that he was devastated by the death of his wife. I lost my girlfriend, my partner, and it's just absolutely unthinkable.
Weren't they married?
Yeah, for 26 years.
That's a weird way to put it.
Thought so.
Whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So he also claimed that he didn't know what happened or why, and he didn't murder his wife. But he had some suggestions.
Oh, did he?
Mm-hmm. So Bob had supplied the police with a short list of possible killers who he claimed had motive to kill his wife.
This is who I think probably did it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So one of those men was named Joe Gens.
Okay.
Joe started renting a house from Bob Bashara. He told him that the property he was renting was not for him, but he was maintaining it for a friend.
Okay.
Soon, Joe started getting phone calls from a strange man he did not know. He kept asking him if Joe would be willing to kill someone, even going as far as providing ideas to get the job done, from making it look like it was a hit-and-run accident all the way to faking a prescription overdose of insulin.
Hey, was Joe a hitman in a prior life? Like, why was he getting these phone calls?
Absolutely not.
He just was like, hey, how desperate are you?
He was some dude.
Okay. Mm-hmm. That's a weird move there, Bob.
It's a stranger.
It was Bob.
So, I don't know why you would do that.
Okay.
I thought I was doing a decent job.
This is episode like 106 or whatever. Like, I know how this works to a certain
This is
extent.
also what you asked for. You were like, please give me a white man murdering a white woman so I can make jokes
I didn't
for an
know
hour.
any of the profiles of any of these people. I'm just saying that was Bob.
So the stranger offered him a hit job.
Okay.
Bob also offered jobs to Joe, usually just menial tasks that got him a little extra cash to help him.
Hey, I can't pay you this week, but here's a $9 million. Does that cover us?
Yeah.
Wink, wink.
Yeah, well, he was like,
maybe
here.
that'll help with the next job. Wink, wink.
Yeah.
Somebody keep calling you too? Crazy.
So usually these were menial tasks that got him a little extra cash to help him meet his rent. Mm-hmm. So one of these jobs, he was hired the first week of January. Bob hired Joe to do some work in the backyard of his personal property while Jane was at work that day.
Hey, people pay you to do that. Little work in the backyard of their personal property.
I do.
Sorry.
No, I was talking with one client. I was like, 10 years ago, so if you would have told me that I'm going to do a job where I touch people for a living, I'd be like, no. Mm-hmm. So I've come a long way.
Look at you go.
So I was actually laughing with one client who had an ingrown hair / like pimple on her butt. Mm-hmm. And I was like, come here so I can zap this with the high frequency one because oxygen helps heal and kill off bacteria, acne bacteria, right? So I literally had her like on all fours while I was zapping her butt with a Tesla ball wand essentially. And I literally was like, what a weird life I live where I'm literally picking pimples off people's butts in my backyard.
You're electrocuting butt pimples?
Yeah,
Yes.
This is my life now, and I've accepted that.
Hey, what are you going to do?
You know what? I have great clients, and I do love my job, as bizarre as it can get.
Yeah.
So, anyway, he hired Bob to work on some backyard work while Jane was allegedly at work that day. So Bob insists that Jane was at work. Joe insists that Jane was in fact home and not at work. So they did meet at some point. Bob says it wasn't true.
Okay.
Joe says it was. So eventually this stranger that kept bothering Joe for this deadly side job finally wore him down. The stranger insisted that he had 2 weeks to get this person killed. And turns out this person
is Jane? Okay.
So the fee was set anywhere between $2,000 or $10,000, depending on which.
That's not enough, Joe.
Okay. Nope. Depending on which version of Joe's stories you stick with.
Joe, you need enough to get to like out of the country.
Yeah. Well, it also included a used Cadillac.
Oh, does that fly? No, then it's not enough, Joe.
You're gonna feel like a real asshole in like 3 paragraphs.
That's fine. I'm saying Joe undersold here.
Yeah, he should.
Although
have asked for more.
I guess literally they can just drive across the Ambassador Bridge. You're in Canada. I always think Mexico is like the where you escape to, but you could just go to Canada.
Yeah, and I feel like Canada, even though I feel like I don't know their extradition process, but I feel like it'd be a lot easier to disappear in Canada.
You just drive north.
Yeah. 90% of the population lives in like a 300-mile stretch of between us, like in their border.
Yeah.
And then the rest of it is wilderness.
Yeah.
Get yourself some solar panels, get yourself some good canning supplies and like a good gun and a knife and learn how to cut wood.
Is that how it's going to be? Just that easy, huh? You just disappear to like the hardest fucking place in the world to live. Just get yourself a good knife. You'll be fine.
Look.
Bitch, it's like -40 in the winter. You're not going to be fine with a knife.
In 10 years, that's where we're going to be at. And like you said, we're going to rob the old people first for your insulin.
You're talking like apocalyptic times, not global warming. There's a difference.
Is there?
Yes.
Okay. Well, when you look at the flood maps, we'll be fine.
Go read your story.
Anyway.
You have gone sideways.
I have. So, after this agreement was reached, anywhere between 2 and 10K in a Cadillac, a time was decided. So this stranger told Joe to arrive at the Bashers' home in the garage at 7 p.m. sharp.
Okay.
So Joe arrives at the house along with this other person. The pair goes into the garage and waits for Jane.
There's another person?
Yeah, this stranger that's been calling him.
Oh, okay.
He met him there. Yes. So, look, the details I'm a little sketch on because I got fucking sick of looking.
That's fine.
I've realized modern day cases are really hard to cover unless you have the time to dedicate to sifting through
court documents, essentially?
Not just court. Yes, court documents, which I couldn't really find.
I'm just trying to keep it as straight as I can in my head.
The amount of news that I had to look through was just astounding. Wait till I get to the sources. I have more sources for this case than I did for Dyatlov Pass and Salem witch trials combined.
Nice.
Modern day cases are hard.
There's also going to be a two-parter if we don't read your paper.
Anyway, so once she arrives...
We're back with a 2-hour episode.
So, Joe arrives at the house along with this stranger that's been calling him.
Yep.
The pair goes into the garage, waits for Jane. Once she arrives, Joe was then held at gunpoint and forced to kill her. So he was going to get paid, was like, I don't actually want to do this. He came to a realization that like murder's bad.
Yep.
And the guy was like, tough shit, I'm going to kill you if you don't kill her.
Oh, no, he's not.
No,
he's not. He calls bluff because if he was going to, he would just kill her himself.
Yeah.
Calls bluff.
But then like fingerprints and shit. Look, this.
I'm just saying.
No one is smart in this situation.
I'm just saying.
We're going to get to it.
I'm not saying call his bluff. Like, I wouldn't probably have the guts to do it. But just logically, if he can't pull the trigger on her, he's probably not going to pull the trigger on you.
It's not that he can't. It's that this stranger wanted to have a fall guy.
Yeah. But I'm just saying.
Yeah, he needs a fall guy for you.
Anyway.
We're going to get to it.
Go about your business.
So Joe says he then karate chops her in the throat.
Hiya! Sorry.
But Joan was still alive.
Really? Jane survived a karate chop to the throat?
Yeah, Jane. Yeah, sorry, Jane. Yes, Jane survived.
He's not Jean-Claude Van Damme. That didn't kill you? Damn, all those 80s movies. Just for nothing.
Like squeezing the Vulcan, like the Vulcan, like on the shoulder, where you just pass out. So the man with the gun then tells Joe that he needs to finish the job.
Karate chopper again.
because he's on a deadline. Aim for the shoulder this time. There's an artery there.
Use your nunchucks.
So, yeah. Nope, he doesn't use nunchucks.
Okay, samurai sword.
His boots.
Huh? Okay.
So Joe then proceeds to stomp on her neck with his work boots.
Okay, that's better than him. I thought he was going to take his boots off and like hit her with them. I was like, this is a terrible idea, Joe. You are clearly not a professional.
No, he definitely just stomped on her throat.
Oh, that's... yeah. Okay.
It's effective. It worked.
Great.
Yep. So this killed her. So she was placed back into her SUV with the contents of her purse strewn across the front seat, and the SUV was abandoned in that alleyway on 7th Mile.
Okay.
Sounds familiar?
Yes.
7th Mile?
Yeah.
Okay. So Joe showed up at
There's a killer McDonald's over there.
I heard there was too on Grass Shit and 7th.
Yeah.
So that's a Michigan joke. There's like 5 listeners that are like, ha, crash it. So Joe showed up at a friend's house. So he's like, hey, these couple of friends are staying at this friend's house. I'm going to go there.
Okay.
So
I feel like we need like pawns and a map so I know who's what and where.
It's going to get more convoluted from here.
Terrific.
So Joe shows up to a friend's house.
Okay.
In an interview with the media, this friend of a friend, she goes by Kathy.
Okay.
So here, after a night of agitation and pacing and mumbling that he was going to go to jail, the two friends and Kathy coaxed a confession out of Joe, him saying that her neck was, quote, fucking broken.
All right.
So he was irritated. He's like, I'm going to go to jail. He finally confessed, was like, oh my God, I killed a woman. So they're like, hey, you should probably go to the police.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. So that they convinced Joe that he needed to confess to the police.
So he walks in at 11:30, right as Bob's calling the police. Anyway.
It gets worse.
Okay, good.
Yep, it's worse than that. So he was driven to the Grosse Pointe police station, and at 4:30 in the morning on January 31st, Joe confessed to the murder just a few hours before Jane's funeral.
Okay.
So the day of her funeral, he was confessing to her murder.
Okay.
But he was released 72 hours later because the police assumed that it was a false confession.
Huh. Why? Anyway.
We're going to get to it.
Okay, good.
So Jane's funeral had hundreds of people show, including local congressional representatives, and was used as more of a celebration of her life because she was involved in like philanthropy. She was involved with colleges. She was kind of a big deal.
Okay.
And so hundreds of people showed up to celebrate her life.
All right.
Bob sat in the second row with his two children, not saying a word. He did manage to keep his mouth shut the day of the funeral, saying nothing to the media. But he couldn't keep his fucking mouth shut about how much he loved his wife.
Why wasn't he in the first row?
I don't.
The second row thing's a weird detail. Anyway.
It is weird. I just read it and it was like, second row.
Maybe the parents were in the first row. I don't know.
Maybe.
Anyway.
Maybe, yeah, because she had her entire family supported Bob. He had them gaslit so hard that they were like 100%
Gaslit?
he didn't
Bob
do
is
this.
innocent. Have you not listened to yourself?
So he kept telling everybody how much he loved his wife and how he didn't know what had happened. And then the funeral happened. And the day of, he was like, nope, I'm not talking to the media. Great. Yeah. But he couldn't keep his mouth shut about how much he loved her until they asked him about his sex dungeon.
Okay. That's a twist I didn't see coming. Okay.
So
Bab's sex dungeon. I hope it says that above it too.
Like BAHB.
Yeah.
Bab.
Yeah.
Bab's sex dungeon.
Yeah, written in crayon like it's left-handed. Some of the letters are backwards.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. The N is backwards. It's actually spelled SECKS. Sex dungeon.
Yeah. No, it's on TikTok. It's SEGGS or whatever.
Oh, segs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hashtag unalive.
Yeah. Anyway.
It's fine.
Yep.
Censorship. It's great.
Yep.
So they asked him about his segs dungeon, and the detectives turned their sight towards Bob Bashara, interviewing all the people around him. They were like, hey, this is a problem. So he has his one tenant, the owner of the Hard Luck Lounge, remembers having an electrician come into the building who then came up from Bob's office, which was in the basement, which is where the electrical panel was located. So this electrician told the tenant
about some interesting decorations that were down there.
So he found this room down in the basement that had a bed in it with harnesses and whips and chains and a bed on the floor in a corner. It wasn't even on a bed. It was literally like a box spring with a mattress.
I mean,
like 18-year-olds.
Nice.
So Action News of Detroit wound up gaining access to his sex dungeon. So they started the video that they aired on air.
I hope they started up at the top of the stairs, not knowing what was down there, and just waltzed in, and were like, "Holy shit!"
I watched it.
Yeah.
They knew there was a sex dungeon down there, and they told people before they aired this that the content was unsuitable for children and that there is so much more that they couldn't show on television.
There's a 3-foot dildo that's formed out of his arm.
Look. It was corrugated steel. Like, the whole thing. Walls, ceiling, all corrugated, shitty, cheap, like, steel that we have on our tin roof, like, porches that are leaking. Like, that was what corridored off this, like, room. And it was They didn't even have like a proper door on it. It was dark. It was creepy. There was one lamp. The bed was in the corner.
It was an office. What do you expect? It's where he held his business meetings.
So this footage included ropes, candles, an axe, and a sword that was hanging from the wall.
Okay.
Yeah.
Big into chivalry.
Yep. So there was a 12-foot bow whip and a horizontal pole with multiple rings attached above the bed that was, again, on the floor.
Big gymnastics person, that's all.
And this was dirty. It was filthy. It was dark. It was creepy. There was like wax on places, and it was a shitty, like you could tell he bought it secondhand, like boudoir thing that like opened up that had like shelves of like disorganized sex toys on it. So
who's got time to organize that, you know?
So all the while, Bob kept insisting that he had nothing to do with his wife's murder and that he hopes that justice would be brought to the man who did this to Jane.
I'm just saying, owning a creepy sex dungeon and murdering your wife, it's not I will agree that it's not like a one-to-one like link, but it definitely makes him a more questionable suspect. Okay. Anyway.
We're going to get to it right now.
All right.
The girlfriends came out of the woodwork.
Well, yeah, you figured that was happening next. Yeah.
Yeah.
You figured if it wasn't in his house and it was in the bottom of some shitty bar that he rented out, like, yeah, that's probably not a good. It's probably not a good look. Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
because that's when you said it was a sex dungeon. I was like, in his house? Like, I don't see what, like,
great. No,
whatever. Yeah.
It's not. A sex dungeon in his house. That sounds like a dream.
This sounds like a movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, no.
By movie, you mean porn?
Yeah. But
I watched this documentary.
Yeah. But being, below a bar hidden at an office, that's a little sus.
Yeah. A sex dungeon in our house. Can't wait till Lily moves out. Just kidding.
Our basement's actually a dungeon and nobody's going down there for anything.
Absolutely not. We have this big spare room.
Yep.
Just kidding.
Yep.
You're just open like, yes, that's the plan.
I mean, it's for podcasting. It'd be hard to hide that without the camera seeing it.
That's true. I know. After taking a pole class down south, everybody's like, why don't you just get a pole if you had fun? And I was like, because I'd have to explain it to my 8-year-old. Also, I have 14-foot ceilings.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
We'd have to get an engineer.
The house needs jacked up first. Look, we got a lot going on. So, girlfriends came out of the woodwork. Bob had a side piece. I know you're shocked.
Super.
Yep. Her name was Rachel. So Bob, after being confronted about his double life, told everyone that would listen that he and Jane had an open marriage.
Okay.
And that Jane knew he had been involved in extreme BDSM relationships for years.
Extreme. Okay.
But when asked about any additional information, Bob would simply say, I don't want to get into that. I have my children to worry about. His nearly adult children, by the way.
Oh, these aren't like a 4-year-old?
Absolutely not. They're like upper teens, college level students.
Yeah, they know what BDSM means. Yeah.
Oh, the extreme. I don't think I mentioned. I might have passed over this real quick. They found a 12-foot bow whip.
You said that.
I did?
Yeah.
Okay. Just want to make sure. So
Yeah.
when I say extreme, I mean like
Indiana Jones.
yes. That's the aspire.
You made the room sound like it's like 6 by 8, and I'm like,
It's
what's he
not.
doing with a 12-foot bow whip? That room.
It's a pretty big
Anyway,
room.
yeah.
It's probably like 2/3 of the size of our bedroom. Like it's probably half the size of
Okay.
this giant.
But still,
room.
yeah.
Yeah. It's not super big, but big enough that, a 12-foot
You could
bow
use
whip
a
could.
12-foot whip because that's normal.
Yeah. Normal people have just like
Anyway.
little like paddles with tassels on the end of them. They're not like bow whips.
Yeah.
So not normal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yes.
vanilla BDSM. Not
Your average, whatever that store's called,
Let's
that
get a
there's
little
lion's dens
lion's
that are
den.
everywhere.
Yeah. We're
I
gonna
haven't,
get a little
I haven't
kinky
shopped
tonight.
around, but I don't think I've seen a 12-foot bow whip in there.
No, but the Great American Challenge is in there. And
Yeah.
It's like a 5-foot long double-sided dildo.
Yeah.
That's not real. It's just a prop. I hope. Please, dear God.
And then you just want to buy a party sub from Subway, take the sub out and put that in and have it delivered to a business? No? Just me? Anyway. But hey, free lunch on us. They open it and they're like, shut it. The fuck is in there? Anyway, that's not where your mind went? Okay, cool. You can finish your story now.
Guys, he's the head of a department at a lab.
So, we do this. Most people know me better here.
He went to a Christian college. It's just, sometimes you say things and 13 years later, I'm still like, sir,
yeah?
do we need to have a chat?
No. It's all good.
No, it's funny. We can probably find some businesses we should do that to.
Yeah.
I can think of a few.
Yeah, we'll just Grubhub send it to them.
So we should find some businesses in Texas and do that.
There you go.
Oh, just some chaotic neutral energy over here.
Mm-hmm.
So soon, Rachel and Bob were getting bored, and they were looking to expand their little duo. So Rachel and Bob took to the internet. Rachel created an account on a website for the BDSM lifestyle called alt.com.
Okay.
So her username essentially stood for Master Bob's Slave.
Okay.
Yep. So they made a post about searching for a second submissive female to join their family, someone who is willing to submit completely to Bob, emotionally, physically, financially. Health and well-being decisions were also made up by Bob.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's like, literally every aspect of your life,
Yeah.
Bob controlled.
All right.
So Bob, I just can't take it seriously. His name's Bob. So Bab started taking more frequent trips out of town for work. And Jane never thought anything about it. She was like, golf trips, work trips, whatever. Yeah. Bob and Rochelle had found a willing participant. Rachel. Shit. Rachel, not Rochelle. It's spelled kind of like Rochelle.
Yeah.
Anyway, Bob and Rachel. I heard her name said is definitely Rachel. So Bob and Rachel had found a willing participant to join their family, making it a triad.
Okay.
So Bob and Rachel took a trip to Oregon to meet their new slave.
Okay.
She was new to BDSM, and Bob knew that. He called her a virgin.
All right.
So during the secret visit, Bob, 1, struggled to get it up because dear old Bob has ED.
Okay. They have to put more letters on the BDSM, BEDSM.
And then
Bob's erectile anyway.
Yeah, Bob's erectile dysfunction slaves.
Yeah.
So, and then number 2, he clearly took this out on this woman.
Oh, that's a good move.
Mm-hmm. So she testified at the trial telling what he did to her. He left marks bad enough that they lasted for months, some from the aforementioned 12-foot bullwhip.
All right.
And he didn't give her a safe word.
Well, no, you signed off on all your health and well-being.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though safe words are kind of like key. It's Ocelot, in case you haven't seen the Zac Efron
Netflix documentary.
Netflix docs. So, should be everyone's safe word. So, when she was asked in court, because I watched a little bit of the trial, they were like, why didn't you have a safe word? And she goes, I didn't think to ask for one because I was an idiot.
Yeah. Well, at least she learned from it.
Yeah. Because she was new to the community.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, why'd you choose this website? She's like, honestly, all the other ones I looked at sucked. This one seemed legit. I met this couple. They seemed great. He came here, didn't give me a safe word because I had no clue what was happening. And Bob knew that she had...
Knew all that,
knew that she was new and took advantage of that and didn't give her a safe word.
Yeah.
So... the course victim blame. So they're like, why didn't you ask for one? She's like, because I'm dumb and I didn't know.
Yep.
Shouldn't matter.
Didn't know any better.
Yeah. So they engaged in breath play, which is choking, that left her seeing stars, and she's pretty sure that she passed out because she remembers seeing the stars and then waking up.
Okay.
Yep.
Happens when you put Raid in a closet, too. We found that out.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, those are children, though. So.
Yeah, still.
So she very smartly decided not to go back to Michigan with Bob and Rachel to live in the new home he was trying to purchase for his new little BDSM throuple. This house was on Grosse Pointe Island.
Okay.
Yeah. So he was like,
just
I'm
around
just gonna,
the corner from his house?
Yep.
Yeah.
Just going to buy this big old
Just
house
going to take
over
the trash
here.
out. I'll be back in 3 hours.
Yep. So, so she decided she wasn't going to go. And so this brings us all back to January 24th because he went to go visit this third person he planned on taking in just a few days before Jane's death.
Okay.
So Bob, again, even after getting a lawyer, keeps talking to the media after the funeral, proclaiming his love for his wife and his concern for their family and children. But they'll be able to move on and heal from this. He'll be able to move on and heal from this.
Okay.
So when asked in an interview with Action News why Bob wasn't crying at all when he went to go dab his eyes in front of like this one of the many press conferences that he did, he told the reporter that it was just a natural reaction. He didn't know why there weren't actually any tears. Yeah.
He has tear dysfunction.
Yeah. His ED and TD.
Yeah, his eyes couldn't get it up.
So he felt like he was going to cry, but he was just all out of tears from crying the whole week.
Yeah. The dehydration has led to my eyes.
Just, I can't cry.
Yeah.
So even he even had her family fooled, them even defending the man who hired and coached another man to murder his wife.
Allegedly.
This man, by the way, Joe.
God.
He had an IQ of 67.
Joe? Mm-hmm. That's pretty low.
Explains a lot, huh?
Uh-huh.
Yep. So Joe Gens does lawyer up eventually. He takes a plea deal, but only if he testifies against Bob in court. So Joe was sentenced to 17 to 28 years in prison. Bob takes some real personal offense to this, him testifying.
Okay.
Which was made evident when he decided he was going to hire a furniture store owner to kill Joe while he was in jail.
Okay.
I can't.
Was the furniture store owner in jail too?
I don't fucking know.
Or do you have him do a How does this work?
I don't know.
Anyway, okay.
I don't know. I told you modern day cases are really hard to look up because there's no concise. Everything I found was just like update.
There's
Can you give me any other information besides this?
Okay. So furniture guy, his name's probably Tom or something because we have 3-letter names aplenty. Okay.
So he was hired to take a hit out on Joe.
Art
Probably Art.
Art Van Furniture? No? Sorry. That was the only 3-letter furniture name I come up with. Maybe there's more. Keep going. I'll think about them.
Maybe that's why they're bankrupt.
Right? Yeah. So maybe they had some big bankruptcy thing. He's in jail.
Yeah. It could be Ashley's. We don't know.
Not 3 letters.
Oh, it's not. You're right. So sorry. He hired the furniture store owner to kill Joe while he was in jail.
Naturally.
And so the potential hitman...
I hope he hit him with a chair. Sorry. That's a terrible joke.
I wrote in my notes with highlighter with like an arrow, like, didn't work the first time, Bob. Not going to work the second.
Right, you dummy.
So the potential hitman cooperated with authorities and wore a wire.
Fun fact.
Yes.
The founder of Ashley Furniture is Ron Wanek.
So
could have been it. Anyway.
Wanek sounds a little bit like it would be like a last name that would be a hitman.
Go for
kind
it.
Of name.
Sorry, I needed to know.
Art, Ron, looking for millions next? Like, we don't know.
That's very local.
That is is hyper local. So he cooperated with the authorities. He wore a wire, which obviously recorded Bob setting up the hit. So Bob threw in the towel for this charge and pleaded guilty for solicitation for murder.
And he did 3 months in comfy prison.
So it scared Joe Gens enough, though, that he decided that he wasn't going to testify at trial.
Okay.
But Doesn't matter. That trial was a 2-month-long trial after like a 13-month investigation. The trial was 2 months long, and it featured approximately 300 witnesses, which included multiple mistresses before Rachel, and then the current one testifying that Bob had contacted her, telling her that she needed to tell the police that they were just friends and she managed his properties.
Okay.
There were 460 exhibits, 5,000 pages of documents.
This jury's gonna be like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, we get it. We don't give a shit about these text messages. So these included evidence from the second raid on the Bashara house, where a forensic team found blood and hair and removed an extension cord and a lamp. Phones, computers, and phone records were pulled.
Okay.
Bob Bashara was found guilty and sentenced to 80 to 240 months in prison, which is...
Not years, I noticed.
Months.
You said months, okay?
So I did the calculations for you.
You
Because I
didn't
know
have
you
to.
care. You care. I know you love math.
It's, okay,
It's
6 years.
How
Anyway,
long is it?
6 years and 8 months. What was the other one? 200?
240.
20 years.
I fucking hate you so goddamn much. I need to use a calculator.
You had to use a calculator for 240 months? Okay. Good job. Oh,
It's 6.6, which is 6 years and 8 months.
yeah.
To 20 years in prison
20.0 years in prison.
on multiple charges ranging from soliciting murder to perjury to witness intimidation and obstruction of justice and obviously first-degree murder. And for the first-degree murder, he received life with no parole.
Okay.
But before he could be released, Bob Bashara died in prison on August 18th, 2020 at the age of 62. There's no confirmation one way or another if it was related to the Roan.
Okay.
And that is...
He was killed by a furniture salesman. What if Joe got him?
Oh, God. No, Joe was in jail for like 17 years.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's the story of the murder of Jane Bashara.
Oh, that's an abrupt ending. That's
Look,
fine. I just wasn't ready for it.
There's so much more to the story.
But he's dead.
He's dead.
Okay.
There's still more to the story that I didn't include. Like, also, I didn't include in her funeral. That was the bit I left out. Her funeral was touted as more of a celebration of life.
Yeah, no, you said that part.
I did say that part.
You did say that part.
Okay, look at me go. I finished my thought before I drenched my client in sprinkler water. So there's so much more to the story, like an affidavit that Joe had signed saying that Bob didn't do it, but he didn't even read it. He just did it out of spite because the police lied to him about protection in prison. Bob also had all these like pull quotes from interviews because he wouldn't shut the fuck up. He would not stop
He's just
interviewing.
a nervous quote giver.
No, it wasn't even nervous quote giver. They weren't like running into him being like, hey, they invited him to studios. And he was
Because
like,
he was a good interviewer
sure,
and just wouldn't shut up.
I'll chat. I'll just fucking, even when lawyers are like, shut the fuck up, Bob. He was like, no, bro. He said things like, they think that I could have harmed my sweetheart. We loved each other. And he said that the fact that they had named him the person of interest is unthinkable. So Bob had failed his first, polygraph.
Yeah.
But his lawyer made him take a second polygraph, which was obviously not an independent third party test.
Yeah.
So he passed this one conveniently.
Yeah.
And not like it really matters because polygraphs are like half bunk anyway.
Yeah.
Jane's clothes somehow wound up not in evidence. They were lost along the way. And then also there's like all of like that's normal, murder debacle things. And then eventually the building that the sex dungeon was in had caught on fire from arson and then was fully demolished afterwards.
I wonder who Bob got to commit arson on this building.
Allegedly.
Because we
don't know.
that potentially
Maybe.
he's got that in him.
Allegedly.
Yes.
He's got some strings to pull. Allegedly. There's just so much. But I got sick and tired of watching a ton of like out of order 2 to 5 minute long clips on YouTube from old archives from Detroit News. So this is what you get.
Good.
Lots of twists and turns.
Yep.
These are my sources.
Okay.
It is an entire
I'm not going to interrupt
phone
you.
screen. So, Sources.
Yep, you just go ahead. I'll sit back.
It's a novel. HuffPost article, Jane Bashara update, plot thickens in murder case. Detroit.cbslocal.com, hundreds say goodbye to Jane Bashara. UPI.com article, police had dismissed murder confession. MLive articles, report, accomplice tells police Jane Bashara murdered in garage of Grosse Pointe Park home, and Jane Bashara's clothes go missing as murder investigation continues. There were Detroit news articles. Bashara's handyman says affidavit was signed in spite, and probe heats up in Jane Bashara slaying. In the Detroit Free Press articles, what happened to Jane Bashara, an NBC article, strange twist in case of murder Detroit executive, and then a WayneCounty.com article, Robert Bashara convicted as charged, Wikipedia, because trying to find like an order that was concise enough for the story was kind of a headache for your girl because I'm busy. And then Dateline, it was like an hour-long article, like it was an hour-long bit about
episode.
About the Bashara murders. It was titled Bashara Murder Mystery, WXYZ, Detroit Murder Investigation, and a ton of random updates from Action News and Local 4 updates. And these videos don't have titles because they were just little blurbs. Like, literally, there was like at least 4 of them I watched.
Okay.
I didn't have time to actually go through shit, so I'm sure there might be podcasts out there that actually have like concise information, but this is what you get because I'm busy.
That covers the gist of it.
Yeah.
Anyway, most people probably turned it off halfway through those sources.
Not probably. Who gives a shit?
Anyway.
So if you've made it this far.
Congrats.
And thanks for our little hiatus.
Yeah, we should be back now.
We had a huge uptake in listeners because on our little road trip, we just dropped cars everywhere.
Well,
we're like restaurants, hotels, like everything. So
well, that and we've gotten into the YouTube Shorts game.
We did. Fuck TikTok. YouTube Shorts,
which I
where
think
it's
the kids say it is bussin'. So is that right? Used right? I don't know. It's popular.
Bussin'. Yeah, sure. Why not?
We remember when I was begging for a 10th subscriber. We have in the last 28 days gotten 30 more subscribers.
Look at us go.
We're at 40.
We regularly have days. We have not had a 0 download day in like a month.
Those are pretty rare anyway.
Yeah, they were rare to begin with, but it's been a while. Like we have like regularly.
Anyway,
like,
that's not what we
days.
care about anyway.
Yeah, sure. I do this so I can find out how much you hate balloons.
Yep. And then if you'll just remember I like caramel, we'll be okay.
Look.
That's an inside joke from outside of the podcast. Anyway, thanks for listening.
I don't ever listen to anything he says.
Clearly.
I'm the worst wife ever.
Nah. Jane was pretty bad. Just kidding.
She wouldn't let him put her up her ass. This is a problem.
What?
I'm assuming.
I don't.
He didn't let her choke her a little. She was upset. He was mad about it.
Really, choke her? That's what you're gonna go with?
Oh shit.
Anyway, I'm
not trying to victim blame. Also, you're right that wasn't very poor taste, and I apologize.
I tried to get out of here before any of that happened.
Nope.
Anyway,
this is why I'm the one that tells jokes on the bonus podcast.
I hope everyone stopped listening at the sources.
Please, dear God.
Right.
Don't think less of me.
Can we end the podcast now, or did you want to dig the hole deeper?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.
Oof, that was terrible. Thanks for listening to our terrible podcast. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts, or wherever you like to listen. Feel free to follow us on Twitter at TMSTPod.
And if you'd like to support the show, you can find us on Patreon at Tell Me Something Terrible.